Hey there, I'm Largo. This is the Lair, and we are going to delve into the G.I. Joe Adventure Team one more time in this new series we're calling AT-76. So, problem I'm running into is looking at putting together a new collection of vintage stuff and not really understanding the market. So, Uh, it's been a challenge. So, to help me get through the weeds of this, I've asked somebody who's been delving into this a little bit longer than me to come and give me some pointers. And that's our buddy Jeff from Skunk Works GI Joe Customs. Good evening, sir. Nice.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Hey, glad you could come back and hang out with us. So I called tonight's show FrankenJoes, which is a term I've heard you use because it's apt for what you do, taking the best of both worlds and mashing it together. So for guys who are first getting into 1/6 scale uh, at in the current or have been into it and getting back into it or whatever, I just want to go over a few basics here and just kind of give people an idea of what's up. Um, so there were Joes in the 60s, but the Joes that I'm focusing on right now are the ones from 70 to 76, which were the adventure team. Prior to that, it was more strictly military from different eras. And, the adventure team was a whole new thing. It was more uh, civilian adventures, but with former military guys or specialists. And it had a different vibe to it, and it also had some improvements with the bodies. Now, the first body you see here was the basic body that the adventure team started with, which had what they call the hard hands. They were kind of frozen in one position. They were supposedly designed to help them hold a weapon, but I didn't find they held anything very well. They innovated with the Kung Fu grip, which was a more rubberized hand that could hold weapons and accessories a lot better. Then they came up with a whole new body that the articulation wasn't as good, but it was more buff and filled the uniforms better. And then the last innovation they had was the eagle eye, where they actually had a little switch in the back where you could move his eyes back and forth, which was kind of cool. So that's kind of the basic anatomy of the adventure team years from 70 to 76. And the lifelike GI Joe, we call it the muscle body. That's kind of the colloquial, but it was called lifelike because of its better physiology. It's definitely the more desirable. Would you say that's true, Jeff? Of people collecting an adventure team?
I'd say yeah. I think the muscle body, especially in the last probably 10 years or so, has become highly collectible because I don't know how many they made. I mean, you used to a long time ago, you could find them relatively cheap. People just discarded them because there was really no way to fix them. And then somebody developed a way of taking elastic and restringing them with elastic, and that was pretty popular in the early 2000s, late 90s. And then someone developed a top string restring kit, so they use like nylon grommets to fasten the shoulders and the elbows. And that was a game changer. And I think the price of those kind of started to skyrocket. Now, nobody ever developed a lower body restring. And then a few of us got together. We can talk about that later in the show. A few of
Okay.
us kind of figured out ways to redo the bottoms because the bottoms were always the ones that never deteriorated. It was always the tops.
Right. And yeah, that's what I'm running into looking at trying to buy vintage. This is what I'm finding most of the
Mm-hmm.
time. The core seems to be intact. Like you say, the legs usually are there, but the heads and the arms, whatever the elasticity was of that substance they used, it just disintegrates
Mm-hmm.
over time. And you got to find a way to restring them. Like you said, there have been some innovators and even some third party guys that have come up with restringing kits or how to FYI kind of stuff using like bungee cord or other types of elastic to make it work. But it's an education. If you don't know where to look or who to ask, it could be a challenge to try to figure out. Buying this pile of parts, how do I put this together and make a Joe that's posable and looks good on the shelf.
Right.
Now with the other guys of the adventure team, like Mike Power, the Atomic Man, he stuck with more of the traditional body, so he didn't seem to have as many issues. But I've still seen some of these in pretty rough repair shape too, where the arms and heads have come off. And of course, the Bullet Man, he's got the same problem with that muscle body. The heads and the arms, plus the arms being that vac metal. It's hard to find some that are in decent shape if they were well played with and well loved. That especially around the where the joints would rub, the chrome is pretty much rubbed off, and it's been a real challenge to try to find one of these guys in decent shape. But I know they're out there. I'm just it's going to take a while.
Yeah, I mean, Bullet Man's another one of those figures where you could probably in the 80s and early 90s, you couldn't have given these away. And as the muscle body craze, took effect in the early, or I guess the mid to late 2010s, 11s, everybody was going after muscle bodies. There's even a couple guys who started muscle body Facebook pages. And it was a wild to see that figure just come back to life,
Well, when it first came out, it was neither fish nor fowl. It's like he's not a soldier, and G.I. Joe's not a superhero line, so he didn't really fit with the rest of the team. I liked it as a kid because I liked superheroes. It was one of my favorite Joes, but he had the hard hands, which were kind of goofy. It's like, if you're going to make this guy, I don't know why Hasbro just didn't go ahead and tool up some fists for him or something, because it just always felt kind of goofy with those hard hands on there and those static poses.
And the interesting thing about Bullet Man, and not a lot of people talk about this, is for the adventure team we had the original G.I. Joe head sculpt, and it was always flocked.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got a brand new head sculpt with Mike Power, but you also got a brand new head sculpt with Bullet Man, and that's one of the first new head sculpts, along with the Intruder and the Eagle Eye, that you got in like five years or so.
Yeah, so they did put some tooling into what they were doing with the line. I just wish they'd gone a little further and given him some better hands. But I thought he was a cool character. But yeah, he wasn't popular, and like you said, they were a dime a dozen for a long time, and now vintage collectors have started to pick him up.
He's grown on me.
Yeah, and what I've kind of looked at doing is something that you and Adam and a few of the other guys have inspired me to do. It's like, I'm not going to go for a pure vintage adventure team right now. Too hard to track down. They're all going to need repair. So I've been looking at getting some of the modern stuff and trying to kind of hybridize an adventure team that uses some of the modern body technology, but with the classic head sculpts. And, that's kind of the idea of where we're going. Hasbro put out some newer Joes. This was 90s and 2000s.
Yep.
There was the Timeless collection. There was the Classic collection.
Right.
And we got some new face sculpts. And they got away from using the elastics in the body. They went to a modern construction that seems to be more durable. You've got a lot of these guys. How do they hold up?
So we got, in the early 90s, like circa 92, maybe, we got that Hall of Fame body, which was kind of like a glorified Barbie type body with a giant muscly upper body. And then everybody was like, it's cool, but it's really not what we want. So then I think in the mid 90s, maybe 94, 95, Hasbro unveiled the Classic collection, which is the two figures you have there, the Asian and the African-American figure, which were a great upgrade from the Hall of Fame bodies. Extremely durable, great play patterns. Those things last forever. They're bulletproof, man. They'll take a bottle rocket. They'll take anything.
They do seem to still have that, what do you call it, like the ham hand grip. It's not as bad as the Hall of Fame, but it's still not great.
I always felt that they took the Hall of Fame hand and figured out a way to tool it to make that hand on that Classic collection body. Because they're almost kind of giant, goofy, like I said, ham hands.
Right.
And then later on, they came out with the gung-ho grip. which
Right.
was the articulated fingers, which had an articulated wrist and allow you to hold a gun really, really well. And then later they came out with the super articulated body with the gung ho grip. And then they also added feet that could fit in the boots easier.
Oh, okay.
So you got an
Yeah.
ultimate awesome body. Hasbro, that body you have there, the super articulated body, is in my opinion the best body that Hasbro ever made as far as a 12-inch figure.
Right. That's the one with the red background there. It's got
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Yep.
yeah, so he's got double elbows, double knees.
Right.
He's got that ab crunch. It's very much like the 1/12 scale highly articulated figures that I collect.
Correct.
As far as the way it's built.
Yep. And then Hasbro went as far, back then their primary competitor was Ultimate Soldier, 21st Century Toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had Dragon, you had Blue Box Toys, you had a few other ones. Yeah, you had a few other ones that came out at the time, which were a little higher in price point, came with a little more sophisticated, a little more detailed equipment. But Hasbro went as far as to do some gloved hands that, like the fingerless gloves for their gung ho grip, and also their regular ham hand grip, which were a lot better than the earlier ones, but not nearly as nice as like Dragon and Blue Box and some of the other manufacturers.
Nowadays, though, some of these Dragon and BBI or Blue Box figures, they're not terribly expensive to find if you're just looking for a basic body without all the accoutrements. If you don't need it new and you're just looking for a project, they're not terrible to find.
No, but thanks to, I'm going to give a shout out to Peter over there at the School Reviews. Thanks to Peter figuring out that the arms on that Blue Box G3 muscle body there you have next to the Dragon one.
Right,
Peter,
that's the one with the darker skin tone.
Correct, yeah. Mm-hmm. Peter figured out that those two arms fit perfectly on a muscle body torso. And
nice.
That was what, in my opinion, like if we had like an award show for 1/6 scale, like G.I. Joe stuff, Peter would get the designer of the year or whatever for that discovery. I don't know how he did it, but those arms fit perfectly there. And in doing so, Peter inadvertently drove the cost of those things. I knew it. The funny thing is,
right,
Largo, when I saw what Pete did, I was sitting there on my phone looking at it, and I said, "Shit, I got to find a few of these on eBay because the price of these are going to shoot up, man."
Yep, because there's a lot of avid guys who are looking to update their old figures, and any innovation is a great one.
Well, the thing about muscle bodies is you see when you see a complete one, so you're going to see one with the hands, the grommets, the legs, chest, neck, post, everything, head. Those are going to be like 150 minimum on eBay.
Ouch.
But you see a lot of them that don't have the arms. They just have the head, body, no arms. Because a lot of people lost the arms when those grommets disappeared. And then that's a superior stand-in to the existing muscle body arms. And that was a great discovery by Peter.
And it's a great way to resurrect some of these old classic Joes where you've, like you say, you're missing parts. There's modern parts you can put in to make it work.
Right.
And one other body I wanted to talk about was Mattel's Max Steel. Super muscular, again, built really durable. Not as great an articulation as like the super articulated Hasbros that came, but it's not bad. And I think I've seen a few of these that people have used to do some updated Joes as well.
Right. This was Mattel's first foray, I think, into the 12-inch 1/6 scale market, probably since late 70s when they did Pulsar. I think Pulsar, and I can't remember if they did a different figure, but Pulsar was their big figure in the 70s, but he was bigger than 1/6 scale. I think he was almost like 13 inches tall.
Yeah, he was 13 or 14, just like the Kenner $6 million man, way oversized to hang out with Joe. They were popular with what was the other line? Big Jim, which was
Big
more
Jim
like
was like an 8-inch or 10-inch tall. So the thing about the Max Steel figures, That was a great toy line, by the way. That was what my nephews were when that came out. They were probably 6, 7 years old. Loved Max Steel. They had this standard body that you've shown here, and then later on, Mattel made a Max Steel. It was called an Ultra Action body. So it was a super articulated Max Steel, and in my opinion, that is one of the best super articulated bodies of that era.
You see, that's a tough thing, especially as a new guy coming into this. When I look at Joe's, especially if they're new in the package, like trying to get some of the G.I. Joe Adventure Team stuff that came out in, I guess, like the late 90s, early 2000s, you don't know what body's in there. And Hasbro changed those bodies so often. It's like,
Right.
I'm looking at the hands. Does it have the G.I. Joe, or does it have the ham hand, or does it have the gung ho type, or
Right.
that's all you can do is look at the hands and hope for the best if you're trying to get a particular body type, unless you really know what's under there. And
I'll tell you a few
delve into it.
telltale signs that you can figure
Mhm.
out. So if you get it on eBay or whatever, and you're looking for those type of bodies, you can kind of tell by the head. The head can kind of give it away a little bit. Obviously, if it has a gung ho grip, that's your first indication. Like a gung ho grip's always going to indicate it could be a super articulated body. The
Okay.
feet are another telltale sign. If they've got those, I got a figure here, just so happens. If they've got those small feet like this that allow them to stick in the boots,
Okay.
that's a good sign as well. And then you can kind of look at the figure if you're an online sleuth. You can kind of look at the figure and kind of determine whether you think it's a super articulated body or not. Sometimes you'll see the arms or the torso moved a certain way. And what I usually do, Largo, is if I want to know, I message the person that says, "Hey, can you send me some pictures of the?" I always throw out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound weird. Can you send me some pictures of the figure nude?
Right. Because you need to see the articulation. Yeah.
Now with the Max Steel bodies, I got one of those as well for you. I got a super articulated one I dug out.
Okay.
So this is a super articulated Max Steel body. You
Wow.
can see it's got I guess you call it the triple joint at the knee. It's what I always call them the
Right.
triple joints. And then you've got the triple joints at the elbows.
Right.
It's a similar Max Steel body and torso, but the joints and the elbows, and these things are, and then it's also got the joint here at the hip.
Oh, okay. So you've got a thigh swivel. Now,
Right.
what year was this coming out? Do you know?
Oh, let's see. This is 1998.
Okay. So pretty much a good idea to look in the 98 era for Max Steel to see what you can find.
You can still
Okay.
find those. The prices are all over the map.
Yeah.
We'll talk about when I did my customs of those later, but I'll give you some more insight onto those.
Right. And that brings me to another thing where people are just making bodies for customizers. There's a lot of these guys in China and other places. World Body is one that I've looked at, super detailed and really good articulation, multiple hands. So I don't know how compatible these are with vintage heads, but it's something to look at. And Zika Toys just recently put out this body that's really inexpensive and well built.
Awesome body, oddly scaled. It's a big body. I just recently had a head made for it for a photo story I'm doing. I actually looked at taking the new White Elephant Toys heads.
Okay.
And
the Super Joe.
Doing a mold and then trimming it down with a Dremel to see if it would pop on there. It's a little smaller for that body, but a vintage G.I. Joe head, which are bigger, if you took one, and I might try this later on, maybe this fall. I've got some molds for those heads. Mold one, cast it, cut it up with a Dremel, drill a hole up in there, grab an adapter, and try to pop it on there. I think it would look fine on there.
Okay. Now, one thing I've noticed is some bodies have a fixed neck post. Some of them have a neck post you can pop out and put other types of necks in there. For doing Joe conversions, I'm assuming you want the one that has a removable neck post.
Yeah, you're gonna want that because the only problem with the problems like with the Zika Toys body and that body there is the heads. They look weird with the actual neck still attached. Those figures are
Mm.
designed for a more got I don't have a one with me, but if you look at a Hot
Just the
Toys
head
head,
with no neck. I know what you're talking about. It's
right?
similar to like the 112 scale guys. Most of those are like that.
But the damn toys DAM has a really good body, and Cody, one of our Axis of Awesome members, has he's he's one of our best, if not our 100% our best customizer when it comes to bodies. And
Right.
Cody figured out that an eagle eye head will fit perfect on those damn toys bodies, and it looks his main character Sarge
Hmm.
looks awesome on that damn toys body.
Cool. So that brings us to where we're going today, the FrankenJoes, taking the classic heads, sculpts, and styles of the vintage Joes and putting them on newer articulation or just hobbling parts together to rebuild a Joe that's, like we said, missing limbs. So I'm going to run the little intro I built for you, Jeff, because I
Uh
meant to do that when we started. So,
oh.
fun little montage here. So I sent out the word. I said, I need some help. And Jeff was happy enough to oblige and come here and talk to me about some of his custom Joes. And we've got a couple examples we're going to show. And he can tell us how he hobbled them together and what kind of shenanigans he had to go through to make it all fit. Because I imagine there's a lot of work involved in getting these things to tweak together. So let's start with some of these Super Joes that you've built. That looks like a Max Steel body. Is that what that is?
Yep, that is. So I've got this one I showed you. This is actually the first Super Joe figure I ever made right here.
Okay.
So this is him. I had to take the hands off for another project I was working on, but it's got a vintage head that has been flocked in white, and it's on this Max Steel body. I went ahead and painted the Max Steel. I can't
Wrist
remember what the
piece.
heck those
Yeah,
things
it's
are
like a,
called.
yeah.
But these were the foundation of my Super GI Joe Adventure team, and kind of the backstory of that was back in 2016. There's a fella named Felipe Monaco, and Felipe lives in Brazil. And Felipe had a company called Luca Porbanicas, and he started making the super suits.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at the GI Joe Con that year in Atlanta.
Now, are those the
And
ones that like Cotswold has been selling, or is that
yeah,
a different
correct.
manufacturer?
They're
Okay.
correct. This is the first one.
Yeah.
And Felipe was going to the conventions to sell these, and I discovered him on Instagram, and I reached out to Felipe, just a shot in the dark message to him, and he messaged me back, and I think we ended up talking on the phone maybe, and he was still in the States, and I PayPal'd him, and he sent me some suits. So I got the
Nice.
suits in, and I didn't know what to do with them, and I didn't like the way they looked on a Cotswold body because I don't think they look very well on Cotswold bodies at all.
So he
I
kind
don't.
of designed them for more of the muscle body style.
Yes, he did, and that's what Falcone or whatever it's called in Brazil
Right.
by
Mm-hmm.
Estrella Corporation had those, and he'd always put those on his Falcone bodies. At the
Now
same
let
time,
me interrupt you here before, because I got like Swiss cheese memory.
okay,
The Brazilian GI Joe Falcone or Falcon versions, they have a muscle body. Now, are they still using the elastic, or do they have a newer construction?
No, they have like a rubber. It's like a rubberized. It's almost like the original muscle body, but a better material. So
Okay.
it's It's like a rubbery. It's identical to the muscle body,
Okay.
right? Because you have the Falcone. I call it Falcon body, which
Right.
has the rubber grommets, very
Hmm.
bendy. Then you've got the Geiper Man bodies, which are European, which are more harder plastic grommets, a little bit different construction.
Okay. Because I've seen with the Brazilian models, they have some eagle eyes, and I really want to have at least one eagle eye Joe in my collection because eagle eye was part of the 76 team.
Right.
So that might be a better option than trying to get a vintage. And
I would
I
agree.
don't know. That's kind of, but I didn't know what the construction was like because I didn't know if it was identical, better, not so great.
No, it's good. I like the Falcon bodies better than the Geiper Man, only because
Hmm.
I don't like the Geiper Man neck posts.
Okay.
I don't like them very much, but I don't like either body a lot, but I would prefer the Falcon one.
Right. Because there are other options out there now.
A hundred
As
percent. There's so
so
many.
yeah,
So
like
the Max Steel body, um, I was working on some customs, and I was looking at. I had a whole tub of these for my nephews when they were little, and I was looking at this super articulated body in the tub, and I noticed the portion here looked really similar to a muscle body GI Joe neck post.
right, it has kind of a rounded piece at the
Right.
top when you take the head off.
So I grabbed a muscle body neck post I had, and I'll be damned if it didn't sit on there just right. So I grabbed some zip tie, and I figured out, holy shit, I can put this neck post on here, and I popped the head on there, and it looked awesome. I didn't change the hands at the time. You can see in the
Right.
picture I sent you. I just kept the Max Steel hands, which they were kind of ham-handish.
I was going to say the scale of the head for the vintage Joe works on that body really
It's per
well,
it's actually perfect.
and the skin tone looks pretty good, at least on camera.
Yep. So I did that, and then I finally eventually changed out the hands. I did that several different ways, but
Yeah, I
um,
was going to say the Mattel hands were kind of like the ham hands that Hasbro
yeah,
did. They weren't great, but you
yep,
found a workaround on that too.
yeah. And then Felipe was start. I think at the same time he started using Max Steel bodies, and he started making some amazing customs. Um, you can follow him on Instagram and go back and see a lot of the awesome customs he did. And those were the first Super Joe figures that I made. Yeah, there's my other
Hey,
one here.
I was going to say, yeah, that chest fills out the suit much better. Like
It
you say,
does.
the Coswald is just too thin
It
for
is.
the suit.
It's not a muscly figure, so
Right. Yeah, because it wasn't designed to be. It was designed to fit the military
yep.
uniforms and just be a mannequin basically to
It's a
fit.
reproduction of the old vintage GI Joe body.
Right. And for what it is, it's good. It's
Great
just
body.
for doing toy photography. If you want dynamic articulation, that ain't it.
Yeah, I wanted to do something at the time when I did that. I don't I don't know if I was the first guy to do it, but I had to be one of the first guys to do it. I wanted something different. Like I always like the type of dude I am is I'm always trying to find something that nobody else has done before, like a trailblazer, and do that, and then have everybody else go, "Oh, that's awesome," and then everybody else do it, and then they take it a step further and make it way more awesome than I made it.
Yeah, that's what I love about kit bashing and customizing. It's like I'm always seeing other people come up with really cool ideas,
Me
and
too.
I'll come up with stuff, and it's like I didn't think about that, or I didn't think about taking those pieces and putting them together. Great idea. I
Yep.
love that. So yeah, it's always very cool to see what other people are putting out there on Instagram or YouTube, and it's very helpful for sparking ideas of your own for making your own custom guys.
Yeah, like we were
So,
talking about before we started the stream, is like now I think I told you a few weeks ago when we were on the live stream, I said be careful when you start doing 1/6 scale because you'll go down a wormhole, and then all of a sudden you start thinking everything in 1/6 scale, right? So you'll be
yep.
at Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, you'll be at Goodwill, and you'll be just looking at everything going, oh man, I can make this, I can make that. Like you
Oh
said
yeah.
with that robot that you got off Amazon, you're like, shit, I can.
Yep.
There's like a infinite amount of things that you can create 1/6 scale.
Yeah,
You know?
I'll do a video on this guy sometime this weekend. But
Oh, cool.
it was a cheap find. Again, yeah, I start looking at things with 1/6 scale goggles on. It's like I can make that work in a photo story, or I can use
Oh,
this, to do some toy photography or whatever. And it's
yep.
like, oh, there's all kinds of stuff out there right now. So both of these guys have a max steel frame with a vintage head.
Both are max steel bodies, super articulated, vintage head, neck post, and then both have action. Well, one has the original max steel hands. The actual Super Joe with the dark hair has Action Man gripping hands.
Oh, cool. So the posts that put the hands in, did you have to modify those,
I
Dremel
did.
something?
I did. When I first started doing it, I did it like a yo-yo. I actually
Hmm.
would take a razor knife and cut along the glue line and snap the arms apart and then build something in the hands. And then later on, I kind of figured out that I could put some styrene in there and make a socket and just I made a socket for the actual GI Joe hands to go up in. Um,
Okay. That which makes it a lot easier for taking uniforms on and off if you can
it
take the
does.
hands, makes
I
them
should have did
removable.
that from the start, but at the
Eh,
time, like I said, at the time, I wasn't thinking about it.
right, trial and error. But yeah, these look really cool. Give me some ideas
Thanks.
for what I'd like to do when I add Super Joe down the line. Right now, I'm just working on getting the core team together. But I like those jumpsuits. I like the idea of that. Plus,
Oh,
I just picked up some of these cheap Lightyear spacesuit things, and it's
yep.
like these will work perfect if they'll fit that chest. I know they fit the classic bodies, but
Well, I know they'll fit that chest. I think they'll
yeah,
fit that. I think they will. Yeah. I just bought one like you did. When I saw that you bought one, I'm like I was inspired, went and bought one, and I'm gonna paint it gold, and I'm
yeah,
gonna
for the
try,
commander.
and I'm working at trying to put some type of light in the center chest to make a Super Joe light vest out of it.
That's
So,
an awesome idea, and there's so
yep,
many LED stuff out there that's pretty inexpensive. You can come up with something pretty cool.
yeah, for sure.
It's a great idea. Yeah, I was thinking about it as maybe a basis for a Bullet Man custom for putting a rocket back on, using that chest as a harness. But
Oh
I don't
wow,
know.
yeah,
I'll
that's a great idea too.
so we'll see how that works. That's what I initially bought it for, and then I thought, you know what, I'll just do some Space Guys because I want to put some of the Cosmic Joes in the line too.
You know, if you make that Bullet Man custom, I think you've seen Adam and I's figures with we use that Cyborg DC Comics arms,
Yeah,
which is a great arm. The color's a little weird, but I tell you, man, if you look around hard enough, you'll find a better arm than that, probably.
I think I have.
Okay, good,
I'll keep it in my back pocket until I actually get it here, and then I'll
good.
show it
I
off. But I
can't wait
think
to
I
see
found a
it.
better solution.
I
Uh,
can't wait to see it.
I also picked up some of these. I'm going to test them out and see how they work. They're called chrome mirror paint pens.
Yeah.
And I've never tried these. I've done some miniature painting and I have some metallic paints, but this is something different. It's kind of a weird animal. It is a paint, but it's very different from anything I've worked with before. So I'm going to test it on some different types of plastic, see how it works.
Did you
And
did you get hit with the ad of Instagram for that?
um,
I think I got hit on the
I
ad
think
for
I did.
Instagram. I did too. Yeah, I thought about getting those for my Bullet Man because my Bullet Man's got some stuff that's rubbed off, but I just decided I'll wait and see what you do with them.
Yeah, I bought a couple of cheap bodies that have similar plastic. I'm going to do the Tide wash like you do, to clean off all the oils,
Right.
and I'll do some tests and see how well it holds. But I think it'll work pretty well. It's designed to adhere to different plastics. I don't know if I need a primer. I'll tinker with it. I'll let you know what happens.
Yeah, there's a
But
fella who used to be, I think he's still on Instagram, Robert Ma. He's awesome
mhm.
customizer. He does a lot of custom heads and stuff. But I think he had you probably find him on eBay. He did like a Bullet Man remake where he used a Cotswold body and had the Cotswold body arms and everything and did a Bullet Man figure of those. They're pretty cool, but they're a little bit too pricey for me for what you get. I don't
Yeah.
like the Cotswold body as far as being a Bullet Man custom. So,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. There's a couple of companies that do reproductions and make box sets that are
mhm.
really spendy. Was it Third Brothers or
Third
Third
Sons
Blood?
books.
Third Sons
and
books,
New
and there's
Creation Studios. That's
yes.
Robert Moss. Yeah, don't get me wrong, they look great,
Oh yeah,
but
but woof,
I don't. They're
spendy.
not my. Yeah, they're expensive, and I don't like that style of body for a Bullet Man.
Right. And one thing I noticed with them, it's more like they're making museum pieces.
Yeah.
They're recreating the box art. They're recreating where you can basically keep it in the box, put it on the shelf and look at it,
Yep.
but not really take it out and play with it. It's like that's not
Right.
what I'm looking for right now,
Me neither. I buy everything Largo to. I think in photo stories.
Yeah.
So I'm always thinking of the next photo story. Like, what kind of custom can I make that nobody's seen before that I can throw in a photo story? It's going to blow their mind. Then I'll do a video on how I built it. Then somebody's going to take it, then go a step further than me and build something super dope and awesome. And I can be like, damn, why didn't I think of that? Then I got to go into the next project and try to use that knowledge and build something even cooler.
That's a great way to do it.
Yep.
So here's some other examples that you have FrankenJoed.
Yep.
Now, am I looking at what is this? A dragon body? What is this I'm looking at?
No, the Sea Adventure Ahead is a World Peacekeepers super articulated body.
Okay, and
So
is World Peacekeepers, is that same as 21st Century?
no, different.
It's different.
World's
Okay.
Peacekeepers is what you see on Cotswold now.
Okay.
They sell like the tower and all those other deals.
Right. I think Amazon calls it's like Click and Play is like the
Click and
company.
Play. The new Action Man bodies are those bodies there, basically. The new Action Man.
Oh, yeah. And I just saw they've started advertising Action Man with
Right.
it's got the classic style head and I think they've got like 4 or 5 different flavors of it. So this is the anatomy it's going to have.
Yep, that's exactly what
Okay.
you're going to get. With
It's not, it
removable
doesn't look
hands.
bad.
No, that was one of my experimental FrankenJoes. I was, when I was really getting into trying to figure out what bodies to use, I cut the head off and tried to figure out a way to mount that vintage head to it. It worked, but I never really liked it, so I just kind of threw it out. Now you can get guys who can, this is before 3D printing really became big. 3D printing, I should say, 3D printing has changed the whole game because you have guys now that can take these, pop them off, 3D print a replacement, throw them on there. I'll talk about that here in a second.
Right.
But
like your friend, I think he goes by,
Cody.
was it Poplock?
Yes.
I saw some of his videos where he takes like a little, it almost looks like a disc that he puts into the neck.
Yep.
And it makes it it just puts into whatever the neck post is and makes it perfect for putting a vintage head right on.
Yes.
It's like,
perfect
man,
head.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And those, like I said, those, innovation is just what drives the whole hobby, trying to figure out ways to use different bodies for different things, because I think everybody loves the vintage G.I. Joe heads. They just don't like the body.
Classic. Exactly. The bodies leave something to be desired for, filling out the uniform or doing the articulated photos. But I love those classic heads. But like
too.
the Black Widow or Black Spider Rendezvous guy. I love the head. I love that man of action look. But it's got the old style body, and it's not great for posing. So I definitely want to upgrade him.
It isn't. And then the other body is a Blue Box Toys Gen 1 body.
Okay.
So I figured out a way to mount that head to it. And then a lot of my customs, before I really put them out there for people to look at, I send them to Felipe because he's a guy that's really inspired me to do a lot of these customs, and he always has really good feedback. And Felipe was right. The neck was a little too short for that head. So we kind of figured out an adapter piece. He actually sculpted some. You can probably find him on his Instagram. He was inspired by me, and he went a step further and made a cool adapter that you could that he molded and cast, and then he actually did a body like that as well. So that was my first attempt at that body. I'd make a few of those with the adapters that turned out great, and I ended up putting them on eBay. So
awesome. Well, it lets you know what options are out there, because I've seen these bodies pretty cheap.
Right.
Just on eBay, where if you just want a basic body, but it's like, I don't want to buy it if I don't know I can adapt it. So I really wanted to.
Ideally nowadays, if you have a 3D printer and you're super talented, like say Cody, I think you've got the move where you can take the classic collection body, the GI Joe one. He makes the disc that snaps in there, allows you to fit a head on, and then he's also working on some adapters to where you can. He's 3D printed a damn toys adapter, so a head will sit down on a damn toys. I think he's working on an adapter where you can put a modern head adapter on a Cotswold body and put a modern head on it, because you know some of the modern head sculpts are cool. Yeah. I think the best part about doing that is being able to design that and print it. The downside to doing a 3D printer is your flesh tone and flesh color. So in my opinion, the best thing to do is to build yourself a prototype, get a resin printer, print that off, then mold it and cast it in a flesh tone.
Or put your guys in a lot of turtlenecks.
Yeah, you can do that. You know, I was going to show you, before Cody had developed that cool clip, what I would do was I would cut off the neck post and then I would glue on a Cotswold head.
Oh, okay. So that's the kind of the vintage style that the heads would pop on.
Correct.
I remember seeing, okay.
And then I've got a guy that I did that with, and here is one of my sea adventures.
Nice.
Yeah, so it looks, pop the head back here. If you guys can see the neck, it looks perfect on there.
Yeah. And I like the fact, again, the body fills the uniform better. Yep. He looks more like a man of action, you know.
Yep. You just got to be able to cut your neck post. You know, I got a pretty steady hand. I use a miter box. You just got to be able to cut it enough to where you can glue that to that neck post.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you put it in a vise and use a Dremel, or what's your preferred method?
I usually mark it with a pin, and then I just cut it. I usually cut most of my stuff by hand. So I just have a miter saw. But you can do however that people want to do it. You know, once you get to looking at it, you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah. Again, trial and error, and some of these bodies are inexpensive enough. You can play with them, goof. You know, it's okay to break a few.
Yep.
There's plenty more to be had.
I would recommend using the Cotswold. If anybody's going to try that, use a Cotswold neck post, not a vintage one, because the vintage plastic won't bond to the glue. The Cotswold stuff bonds perfect.
Okay, because it's made of a different plastic?
Correct.
Okay. Now here we've got what looks to be a vintage muscle body. This is where you use the BBI arms.
Correct.
On the one, the blue trunk one.
The BBI arms, yep.
What's the neck post there? Is that a vintage neck post?
That's a vintage neck post. It's this guy right here.
Okay.
I did a video of him. And the legs.
Nice. That was in your modern adventurer video, right?
Yep. The legs are the discarded BBI Blue Box Toys G3 legs. So when you buy those bodies and use those arms, you had the bottom leg portions. You didn't know what to do with them. So I was sitting there. I drank a few beers one night, and I was in my workshop. We just put our son to bed, and it was cold out. And I was just down there, kind of cleaning stuff up. And I'm like, I'd watched one of Peter's videos on the arms, and I'm like, I look at those legs, and I thought, damn, those ball joints on those legs look super similar to a ball joint on a muscle body.
And that's the nice thing about having a box full of parts. You can just go down the workshop and say, well, okay, let's play, see what'll work.
So I pulled that thing out and I took it apart, and I'll pull this guy out here. We'll take his pants down. Pardon everybody. And I pulled him apart, and I thought, shoot, man, I've done the lower body restring. I think I can actually figure out a way to mount those legs.
Oh, yeah.
And
it looks like, I was going to say, it totally works with that ball joint.
I've got a video on this, and it's bulletproof. You can do it. It works perfect.
Now, does it change the height of the Joe?
He's a teeny. He is actually a little bit taller, actually, which is nice.
Yeah.
He's a big Joe, but I'm telling you, Largo, this works great.
Yeah, well, it's
Um,
cool. It gives you some variety in your team too, because not everybody's the same height.
no,
Now, when you're starting to Franken-Joe these guys, what challenges do you find in the uniforms? Because I'm guessing the uniforms are not going to fit the same. You may have to go to other types of uniforms, like 21st Century or other manufacturers, or
uh, you can. You know what I find in a lot of stuff is the Cotswold uniforms kind of fit a little bit big to begin with on the figures. I don't know if you've bought any of the Cotswold uniforms. They're
I
a
have
little
some
bit
on the
bigger.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little bigger to begin with on the bodies. They fit the muscle bodies great.
Okay.
Um,
Well, even the
the
vintage
21st,
Joe stuff, they're a little baggy, so it makes
right,
sense.
21st century stuff fits really well. It's hard. I think 21st century stuff fits the classic GI Joe body pretty well. I've done some stuff. I've done some stuff there, and it fits pretty well. But you know, you gotta just buy stuff and then figure it out.
Tinker
Hey,
with it.
buddy.
Now,
Yep.
the African American one that you've got here, um, is that just that's just another Max Steel piece, or is that something I can't even identify it?
That's this guy right here.
Okay.
That's a Max Steel Gen 1 body. Upstairs.
Hey, buddy.
Upstairs with mom. Say hi. Say hi and bye. Say
Hi.
hi, Ollie. Okay. See you, buddy. So that's a Max Steel Gen 1 body. He found me. That's a Max Steel Gen 1 body. Actually, it's a Gen 1 top, and the legs are super articulated.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make this African American Super Joe like the original Super Joe figure.
Right.
And I put Cotswold or some Captain Cosmos gung ho grip hands on him. And then it's got a masterpiece edition or a master collector, not masterpiece edition, timeless collection head on it.
Now, are the Timeless Collection heads a little different as far as the neck post, or
Nope, they're all
I
the same. They're made exactly
okay.
like the old G.I. Joe heads. There's the timeless collection heads, and then you got your 40th anniversary heads. They're both really nice, just a little different.
Okay. And
I'll,
again, it really fills out the jumpsuit much better.
right. So the reason I use this all black body, it is a Max Steel figure that was a diver.
Okay.
And the reason I use that body is I wanted to do an African American figure, and Max Steel never made an African. It didn't have an African American character.
Right. They were all
So
just Max. Yeah.
right, there was just Max. I wasn't going to put this head on a white body, so
Right.
I decided I would use that. Now the arms aren't super articulated, but that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Um, I love this figure. This is one of my favorite Super Joes I did.
It looks cool. I'm digging it.
Yeah, I love this head too. By the way, if you can get you some of these timeless collection African American heads, I love these. I love these heads.
I'll be on the lookout. I picked up some, I think, that are from the, uh, I can't remember which line, but I've got one of the African American heads that is from, I think it's from the later Joes. It has the gung ho grip. Says
Oh,
some of the more modern styles, but I like the sculpt. It looks really good. It's a modern sculpt. It's not a classic Joe sculpt, but I'm hoping that'll work with some customs I have down the road. But I'm just like I said, I'm picking up pieces, parts as I see them on Evil Bay or wherever, and once I get a bunch of stuff here, then I'll start tinkering. But I got to get some stuff in hand. But
right.
great way to use a Max Steel. And this one, I see you've done some hand swaps. I don't
Yep.
recognize that body.
That's
Is
the
that a
BB. That's the BBI Gen 1 body, and that has the neck adapter on it, so you can see the head. The
okay?
neck's higher,
Right.
and those have vintage Action Man later issue hands.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I
the
like that body a
BBIs
lot.
are like a really rigid hand that you have to
Hmm.
swap the hands out for different poses or whatever. So
Yep.
that's a better option, definitely going with the Kung Fu grip style. Very cool, man. Yeah, I really like all the customizing stuff you've done. It gives me some ideas for what to look for raw material to pull in. It's like if I see a head sculpt I like, I don't have to be afraid of finding a body that'll work. I know there's going to be ways to make it adapt. Like,
Right.
for example, I like the first generation of the Hasbro Action Man where they had a flocked head. He's got
Mm-hmm.
kind of a 5 o'clock shadow. So I picked one up. The body is shit, but the head
Yeah, I
sculpt
know.
is really nice. So now it's like, okay, that neck post is not going to work on a traditional Joe, but there's got to be something, maybe a dragon body, maybe a 20th century. I'll tinker and figure out what'll fit.
You'll find something that will fit almost
Yeah.
always.
So
Always.
yeah, definitely going to take some trial and error, but and like I said, once I get some stuff here, then I'll have a better idea of what type of adapters or things that I'm going to need, and then I can try to either outsource those or have my friend Will 3D print some stuff up for me.
Oh yeah,
Because
for sure.
so this one, I got to say though, is my favorite of your customs because I'm a Bullet Man guy.
Thank you.
I love that retro, almost pulp era vibe that you've got with the uniform and the style. Really looks good.
Yeah.
Now, what'd you use as your base for this? Because that's obviously not an original body, or
So
is it?
when I made that figure, it's a Max Steel Ultra Action body.
Okay,
So what I ended up doing is I took a Max Steel and I took the body apart, took the arms off, and I used silver leafing paint. Um,
oh, okay,
and
yeah,
that's what
like
I
you used for
used.
like automotive.
Actually, just for like arts and crafts. It was like it's actually silver leafing. Then I put like a Mod Podge coating on it. The helmet was molded for me and cast by Felipe. I bought the
Okay,
guns off of Shapeways, and then Corrigan Holsters made my dual holsters, and that was
nice,
my bull. And it's a Cotswold shirt. And then the pants are a lady, Kathy. She does. Her name's Kathy. She has Quartermaster Customs. Kathy made those pants for me, and then they're Ultimate Soldier boots.
cool. Yeah, I was going to say that has a very what's the like the what was the character? There's a character named Airboy in the comics that had kind of
Okay,
those pilot World War I style
I can't
pants.
remember what they're called. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it. But yeah, it's like an aviator style, or
Yep.
it works. It totally fits the character. And I always thought Bullet Man should have a freaking gun. He should shoot some bullets.
I know. I thought so too. I mean, the guns
So
work great for that figure.
yeah, and with that pulp style, he's kind of like somewhere between the Shadow or some of those other guys. Got to have some classic guns with him.
Right. And he has
So
I actually put black gung ho grip hands on him. So I think I got a Cobra Commander GI Joe Valor Venom figure that had black gung ho grip hands. Got them off eBay. Took the hands off, and then that's what I used for his hands.
cool. Yeah, this definitely gives me some good ideas. I went with a different body style that already has the gung ho grip hands that are black.
Mm-hmm.
So if it works the way I think it will, he's going to be very sleek. It'll look, he won't be overly muscled, but he'll fit in with some of the modern FrankenJoes that I'm going to build. So we'll see how that works. It's just a matter of finding the right head. One of my ideas is to make two. I want to get two head sculpts that I like that'll fit the helmet, so I can have him in his alter ego civilian mode as just a normal Joe, and then when he goes into action as Bullet Man, I have him in the suit.
That's cool. That'd be
So
cool.
I just got to find a head sculpt that'll fit the helmet right, and then buy two of them, which isn't hard because there's a lot of duplicate Joe
For
heads out
sure.
there.
For sure.
So
You can still get like a lot of the 90s, early 2000s Joes pretty cheap.
yeah, I've been finding a ton of those, and like I said, several of them with the multiples of that head are being used. Some of them even have flocking, which
Yeah.
may need to be redone. I don't know how well the flocking was done on those.
Yeah, you just got to just do due diligence when you look stuff up. I think the only stuff that's kind of gone up in price is the Adventures of GI Joe, or they're kind of Adventure Team reissue style figures with the new head sculpt. And
Right.
that's what I was going to tell you. I think I've got one here, back up here. I did a video on these guys. The White
Yeah.
Tiger Hunt guy,
Oh yeah.
that
Now
head sculpt there.
the only one, yeah, the only one of that style that I've purchased so far is the Mummy's Tomb because
Yeah, it's a great figure.
I saw your review of it and I was like, man, that one I want. I don't know
That's
where
what I
he's
was
going to
gonna.
fit in my team, but I like the style.
That's what I was gonna tell you. Like when I was getting ready to come on the show, I was doing a lot of thinking on the way to work one morning, and if I was gonna make a super GI Joe adventure team nowadays, um, you know that body that came with the mummy's tomb. It's a muscly body.
Yeah.
It's a muscle body. It's not super articulated, but it's really muscly.
And
I
he
would
has the gung ho hands too, which I
right.
like.
I would probably grab a few of those bodies and get a few of those modern adventure team heads, reflock them all different colors, throw them on those muscle bodies, and throw a super suit on them and some boots. I think if I was going to do a
Yeah.
Super GI Joe adventure team, I think that would be a super cool team because you're taking a futuristic adventure team head, good muscle body, and you're doing a brand new, fresh idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like I said, I've been trying to look up some of the convention special editions that they did. One, because the box art is so freaking beautiful,
They are
but
great.
also they have most of the later issue ones have the super articulated body already,
Right.
and they've it's kind of a hybrid head. It's not really the vintage head,
Yep.
but it kind of is. It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
So
they retooled it to fit the classic collection body. So it has that look of a vintage GI Joe head, but it's also different.
right, but
And
like you
that's
say, these modern Joe heads that they did it has a really good head sculpt,
oh yeah,
and yeah, like you said, it does need a new flocking. Get rid of the goatee, put a full beard on them, that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
Did you see my video on my modern adventure team I did?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
really
exactly
like
what I
those.
did. I just put those heads on super articulated bodies, which the super articulated bodies, they're not super muscly, they're not
Right.
they're not really going to be muscly. Um, if you go back and look at my review of the Collector Club's Super Joe figures that they did, those are in jumpsuits, and they look
There's
okay in the jumpsuits,
yeah,
but
they're kind of slim.
yeah, I don't like them.
Yeah.
But I also I did pull out my muscle body with those arms that Peter at the school review did.
Yeah, they
So
look
this is
a little beefier.
oh
Those
yeah,
are the BBI arms.
yeah. So I don't know, another thing a guy could consider is, I don't know if at some point in time, if Cotswold is going to work with White Elephant Toys. They've got this launch of the 8.5-inch Super Joe line, but I don't know. They might actually bring out a new muscle body at some point, so that might be something to consider too.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, they've done some really good stuff there, and they definitely see that people like that muscle body style. So maybe they've got something in the works. I think for my, like I said, the core team I want to get that's top of my list is Mike Power. Put together a custom Bullet Man, and I got to have at least one Eagle Eye. That's the core team, those three.
Right.
And then beyond that, I'll build up the adventurers as I find a cool body or head sculpt I like, and then see where they fit in. So, but again, thanks, Jeff. Go to Skunk Works, check out his all of his videos. He's got some great photo stories. He's got some great how-to stuff. He takes you into the workshop, shows you how to build a flock box if you really want one of those. Unless you want to just do old school shaker, you can either way, it works.
Yep.
Putting together some of these FrankenJoes, he's done some videos on that, plus just some cool videos of stuff in his collection. So his link is in the description below. Please check it out. It's definitely been inspiring for me to see what he's hobbled together. He and Adam and some of the other guys in the Axis of Awesome, because they've all, like you said, there's that thing of one guy gets a great idea and the next guy builds on it, and it's like, okay, it just kind of goes around and around. It's like, man, that's cool.
That's the best part, being in a group of creative people, is like everybody challenges one another to get better. It's kind of
Yeah.
like in anything you do. And we've got so many talented people across the board in our group. And definitely we've added you to our group.
Well,
And
thanks.
hey, man, yeah. And I really appreciate you having me on here. And before I go, I've got to say, I think I told Lyle, I'm wicked impressed with your production. I mean, I I
Well,
see all your.
thanks.
I watch a lot of your videos, and I watch your production, and I'm like, damn, I'm in the Stone Ages on half my stuff, and I love it, man. I love your channel. I think you're doing awesome stuff, and I really enjoy talking to you, man. It's really fun.
Well, I appreciate it. That's the whole idea. To me, it's about having good conversations with
Yep,
folks and learning new stuff. I don't have to be the know-it-all. I'm looking to find people who can teach me something, whether it's pop culture or building figures or whatever. You know,
yeah. It's about enjoying yourself, and I think you're
yeah,
definitely enjoying yourself. I love your Instagram. I love your YouTube. I appreciate you having me on here, and I appreciate you like liking my stuff. It makes me feel like I'm doing something good too, man. So this is awesome.
well, I appreciate it, and the mutual appreciation goes around. We've met friends through other friends, and
Yep,
there's this community of like a little circle within circles of people who collect different stuff, and it's just awesome. And like you say, that generosity of spirit. If one guy knows something, he's not afraid to share that knowledge, or hey, I found this thing. Here's where you can find it. It's
yep,
very open and it's a community. It is,
it is. That's what we're trying to do, man.
and it's very well done. I've enjoyed talking with you and Ed and Adam, and I'm going to have you guys back on again as I
For
get
sure.
stuff into the lounge here or the lair and start hobbling some stuff together. I'm gonna we'll just see where it goes.
Right on, man. I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Well, thanks, I appreciate it. So everybody at home, I hope this was educational or at least entertaining. And I challenge you, get out there and find some 1/6 stuff. Put your own team together. It's not that hard. There are some challenges, but that's half the fun. So put your own adventure team together as I put together AT-76. So I'm going to play us out. Everybody have a good one. Jeff, hang out for a second behind
Okay.
the scenes, and we'll BS a little after show.
Right on, Largo. Hey, guys. Cheers.
Everybody have a good one.
Keep living the adventure.